Hey everyone, thank you for being here. Newsletters are seriously something I nerd out about so much. So the fact that you're here, ready to dive in, I'm hyped. I am so excited. I hope you have a little fun bevy and it is a beautiful sunny day. But let's get into how to actually create a newsletter that you'll finally be consistent with because honestly, it doesn't have to be as overwhelming as the internet makes it seem. So first, if you don't know who I am Laura. Am a content strategist for travel influencers. I also travel full time myself. So this is me with my teardrop trailer, Luna. Right now, she's just hanging out, waiting for me to take her on an adventure, and I miss her so much. But the reason I kind of got into newsletters, I'll share with you, is that I signed up for this like mega influencers newsletter. She was huge, and I just wanted to learn more about like how she had traveled to all these places. Like tell me all the details. So I signed up for her newsletter, and it came to my inbox, and it was one paragraph, and it was Times New Roman font, and it was there's nothing in it. There's no pictures. There was nothing, and I was like, how can you have been to so many amazing places and like this is the newsletter you're sending me? So I did something insane, and I replied to her newsletter. And I said, "Can I work on this newsletter for you?" And she said, "Yes, send me a portfolio." So I spent the next 12 hours building a portfolio of everything I've ever written. And I sent it to her, and she was like, "Amazing, great. I would love to work with you." And to be honest, I've been working with her ever since. It's been like, it's been years at this point. So before I started working on this newsletter, it was literally kind of an afterthought. She, like, in her initial response to me, was like, "Yeah, the newsletter is something I've been like wanting to do. I just like haven't figured out how to do it yet." After I've worked with her for so long, she hit 16K subscribers, and she literally gets revenue through her newsletter through different brand collaborations, things like this. She doesn't have to worry about constantly pumping out newsletter content. To be honest, little side note here, we created a 52-week newsletter send for her. So essentially, every week I just go in and I fill out one section, and then we send it the following Tuesday. And that's it. Like, we're not restarting from scratch every time, which is what we're going to get to in this masterclass. So I've taken everything I've learned from that experience of helping that influencer get to 16K subscribers on her newsletter. And I've boiled it down in this masterclass for you. But we have to get through a little bit of context first because I want you to be as excited about newsletters as I am. Okay. So, what is a newsletter? Maybe this is an annoying question, but let's start with the basics here. A newsletter is a way for you as a creator to share with your audience in a space of the internet you actually own. I will get into exactly what I mean by that in a moment, but bear with me for a second. The newsletter is also a consistent content rotation. So, maybe you share it once a week, once a month, things like that. A newsletter is also a place where you can leverage brand collaborations. You can share more personal updates with your audience, and you can even earn far more money than you would on social media through your newsletter. This little stat I have here is that the ROI of email marketing, you get $36 back for every $1 you spend. I mean, when you hear that stat, it's pretty no-brainer. But there's also a way to earn money through your newsletter without spending any money. And we'll get into that when we talk about how I gain newsletter subscribers and how you can too. Why do travel creators actually need a newsletter? Well, the content you share on social media, you do not own. And I want to share this little analogy with you. So imagine you have this boat. You're like a boat person. I thought I wanted to be this person. Turns out I get deathly seasick, but it doesn't matter. So you have this boat, you just bought it. You're so excited, as we are with like any new toy we get. You've spent all this time researching how to care for a boat. You are watching all the YouTube videos. You are downloading all the courses. You are following all the best boating practices. You like cannot get enough of learning about how to master this boat life. This boat is now the boat. You've done all the things. You're good at this. It is now the boat where all of your friends come to hang out. And then their friends come to hang out because they're like, "Hey, she has a boat and it's pretty awesome." And they come. One day, you're getting ready to have a huge boat party. You're ready to gather everybody up, take them out, and you get to your boat and it's completely gone. Like it's nowhere in sight. All that effort you've put in to create this perfect boating experience is literally over. It's like gone. It's like washed at sea. You don't even know where it is. You don't even know what to do. Who do you even call? Now, I want you to replay that little analogy or kind of think through it in your head and replace boat with online community, because your community can go away just like that. And I don't want to scare you, but if you don't know, you don't own your social media content, and we don't know what these massive tech platforms are going to do next. And they honestly don't care about us in our corner of the internet. So it's up to us to take charge in creating our own protection and our own corner of the internet that will actually serve us in the long term. And I honestly believe that the best way to do that is through a community that's in a newsletter, and I'll tell you more why. You also need a newsletter because it acts as a sort of social media insurance. And I wish I had a better word than insurance for you, but I'm sorry. Social media insurance, before I get into some of these stats, what I mean is what I'm saying with the boat analogy. Like, your social media could be wiped away, and what you can do to protect that is to make sure you have an email community in place that you can fall back on if we don't want this to happen, but if your social media went away overnight. And unfortunately, I have seen this happen to probably a dozen creators in the past year, where one of their biggest platforms is just gone, and they've been jumping through hoops to try and just like contact people at these tech platforms who like don't care about you and that this happened. But more than that, there's literal data that tells us that in email, you earn so much more money than you would ever earn on social. So 77% of B2B companies utilize email marketing. 95% of Gen Z's millennials received newsletters. And automated emails generate 320% more than non-automated emails. And honestly, that's the goal we want to get to, is setting up these emails that they just run. They just run by themselves, and you can be out doing whatever you want in your little travel world. Maybe that's more time booking your next trip, or more time just hanging out on the beach. In B2C, 59% of consumers say marketing emails influence their purchase decisions. And this makes sense because in email, we expect to be sold to, and on social media, we expect to be entertained. So when we kind of crosswire those two things, like, it's very counterintuitive, because we think, oh my gosh, we should be using social media to sell our stuff. We should be using social media to get people excited to join our email list, where then we'll sell them things. Plus, newsletters allow you to stop guessing on what to do when your favorite app has another update. Like, there is literally no algorithm chasing here. And you have the actual contacts of people in your community who want to hear from you. So why do these newsletters work for travel creators? I was just giving you stats on business to business or business to consumer. It seems to work for them. Like, why is it working for travel creators? The number one reason is because they're personal. If you haven't noticed, we're incredibly social and nosy creatures, and newsletters are an incredible way to just learn like a little bit more about the person you subscribe to, because it feels more personal. It doesn't feel like when we're scrolling on social media, it's like, oh my God, there's so much content. There's just so much content from all these different people. But when it comes to you in a newsletter, like in your inbox, you're like, oh, this feels like an added level of this parasocial relationship that I get to know about this person. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways travel creators can monetize your creator business. And in email, we expect to see those promotions and sales, versus on social media, we expect to see entertainment. So this is a great place to throw in your packing checklist tips. This is also a place where you can share updates for your community that you don't share anywhere else. I love to say that, my newsletter community, my most favorite pieces of content that I work with, and one of my most favorite communities I work in, and that is true. And I often reward them with getting information about offers or access to me way before anyone else on social media would find me. One, because I know They actually are the people who want to hear from me, and I want to reward them for hanging out. You are a creator, so it's very likely that you have spent a long time building this amazing community. We know it doesn't happen overnight. We know this. It's likely you've spent an hour on a single post before. I mean, I'm guilty. I'm guilty for clients. I'm guilty for myself. And when you spend so much time on that content, you want to feel like it is really resonating with your audience, and you want to make sure it reaches as many people as possible. With social media, there is no guarantee that when you press publish on a post, it will go to 100% of your followers. It just won't happen. We know this. But when you press send on a newsletter, we know that it will go to 100% of the people on that list. It will go to the top of their inbox. So it is the first thing they see when they open their inbox. Newsletters are honestly sort of like a little cheat code for getting in front of your audience. Okay, this is a big one. A lot of people tell me they don't know what to share in their newsletter. They feel very stuck on this step. And I'll say, firstly, it's important to divide your content into digestible sections. So here I have for you a couple of examples of those sections you can repeat every single time you go to share your newsletter. I think another reason creators get stuck on not knowing what to share in their newsletter is because of sort of the format of all of this written content. And I like to think of your newsletter as a text that is beautifully crafted to a friend. So I want you to update them on what's happening, share with them things you'd want them to know. This is your weekly spot to catch up with your audience and let them in on your world. They signed up because they want to see like what's going on with you. Just like one of your old friends that you don't talk to all of the time and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I need to catch up with so and so this week. Here's what I need to tell them." There's also this misconception that newsletters need to be beautifully written. This is not true, and I guarantee that when we open our inboxes, we don't want to feel like we're reading a book. We want to feel like we're getting like quick, amazing content. Your newsletter is a way for your community to step into your world and see you and get to know a little bit more about you. Being casual and adopting that friend text message vibe will get you so many more open rates than any like formal or stuffy language. Plus, it's so much easier to craft your newsletter when you come at it with that mindset rather than like, this needs to be like my thesis. Your newsletter is also a great place to share your brand collabs, and it requires no more work from you. So that could even be another section of your newsletter, meaning you could just repurpose the brand collabs approved language that you used on your social media post in your newsletter. And it allows you to ask brands for more money, because they know that newsletters convert much higher than social media. Plus, you're offering them a whole nother engaged community to sell their thing. So it's kind of just a no-brainer when you're working with brands. The big secret is that a newsletter is one of the easiest pieces of content you can create because you are pulling from content you've already created from. Because with a newsletter, you can share less but better content through repurposing. Meaning, let's say you've shared a Michigan travel guide on one of your social media platforms. Let's pull that content and make it make sense for a newsletter. A newsletter will also let you spend less time on creating because you're sharing things that are going on around you. It's like a quick text update, you know? Like it's so much easier to come up with that content than it is to sit down and like formally write a blog, and it's so much faster to repurpose your content. You also can get super personal with your audience in a way that won't get lost in the algorithm. It also, like I said, gives you another place to leverage brand collaborations and get more money, which is what I want for you. So how can you start a newsletter? Okay, so this here on the screen is a list of the steps you need to take to create and send a newsletter. And there's a lot of advice out there on how to start a newsletter. You can find so many resources on what platform to use, when to send your newsletter, how it should be formatted. But this list right here is the general basics of what needs to happen for you to send a newsletter. Okay, so you did it. You have gotten context on why you need a newsletter. You've gotten stats, sorry, but you've gotten ideas for sections of things to send in your newsletter. And to be honest, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed by all this information and things that I just threw at you. Whew. But this is truly just the beginning of the newsletter world. So if your newsletter has been on your back burner as something you've been meaning to get to and you just haven't, now is the time. I mean, honestly, we don't know when the next social media platform will go away or what will happen to it or what will happen to your specific account. And I don't want to fear monger you. I am just painting a real reality. This can really happen. It does happen. It is actively happening to creators. And honestly, there's never been a place for travel creators to get through all of the noise of newsletter creation until now. And that's why I've created my 7-day newsletter challenge. So if a newsletter has been on your back burner or you struggle to stay consistent, I want you to meet my 7-day newsletter challenge. In this challenge, I'll be showing you exactly how to create a newsletter and press send to real humans who freaking love you by the end of the week. And remember that creator in the beginning who I was telling you about who sent me her newsletter with a block of Times New Roman text? Like, honestly, she's been to more places than I've had hot meals and it came to me like that. I'm going to make sure that that's not you. We'll go over everything you need to know about creating a newsletter in this challenge. There's no guessing what will work anymore because it's all here for you, just waiting for you to do it. And the best part is that even if you're a creator whose business changes directions or upgrades or explodes, this new newsletter system will easily move with you and adjust with your goals. Each day, you'll get an email with that day's lesson in it. And you'll also get a PDF within that email that has the same instructions on it in case reading through a long email just like isn't your vibe. I get it. I'd rather just look at a PDF with all the steps I need to take rather than scroll through an email. In the 7 days, you'll have a simple and actionable, repeatable process that will help you stay consistent with your newsletter. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to steal my strategies on how I gain newsletter subscribers and how I help my clients do the same that I don't tell anybody else. Because you're here, you get a special offer, of course. Okay, you do, because I think you're amazing and you made it this far and you're serious about taking action. I'm leaving the link below for you to say yes to owning your content before this price increases. In 7 days, you can have a newsletter that will shape the rest of your creator business and help you create less but better content. So it's $97 to go from only relying on social media to connect with your audience to having a direct link to the contacts of those people in your community that you can reach over and over in a repeatable system. If you have questions about this challenge, please drop me a comment. Drop me an email, Laura@TravelContentWriting, or send me a DM on Instagram @TravelContentWriting. I can't wait to see you inside the challenge and absolutely crush your newsletter dreams. I'll see you there.